Hey, what's up dudes and dudettes? In this video we're going to switch it up just a little bit from what we've been doing for the past little while. For a little while now we've been working on lawn stuff, and which is fine, but wanted to get to some of the other things that I have kind of stashed away, and these were garbage picks on different days, but they of course, as you can see, are the same model. They are both Bissells. And they say Powerforce Helix on there. I don't know what that means. They're all about the same to me, but this looks like one of maybe their more affordable little models. But the hope is here, because we have two of the same model, that we might be able to make one good one out of both of these. 2191U is the model on this one. And this one's so dirty you can't even see the model. Probably the same. This one's just 2191, so I don't know what the difference is. Different color, perhaps. We're gonna see what we can do here. First things first, I guess let's just run an extension cord out here and we'll plug them in one at a time. I definitely don't want to take these in, not having cleaned them or anything yet. I think actually first things first, we may just empty them out. Let's go ahead and empty the canisters. Alright, so I don't see anyone else's money in here, so. So I think the purple one came from a pet owner, if I had to guess, and the blue one just came from someone who is exceptionally dirty. Okay, so the purple one first, and just a note, the hose on this purple one was unplugged at both ends. So it was unplugged here, and it was also taken off of down there. So I don't know if they were maybe trying to clear it, possibly. But let's turn it on and see if it works. Okay, so a very common reason for people throwing away vacuum cleaners is a bad belt for the brushes or a bad roller brush assembly. Those are two very common reasons for people tossing vacuum cleaners. The other reason that's very common is a thermal switch in these that turns the machine off whenever it overheats, because people forget to change out the filters and clean the filters and do absolutely no maintenance on these, and they're supposed to clean those out you know, fairly routinely, and they don't, and what happens is they get clogged up and then they overheat, and that thermal switch, which is just a temporary thermal switch, will be thrown, and the machine will no longer work. So you know, what happens a lot of times is you think the machine is dead, but then you plug it back in later on after it's had a chance to cool down, and then it comes right back up. And the reason is that thermal switch, and it just needs to be thoroughly cleaned out at that point. So that's another reason that stuff gets tossed. But we already see that there's a problem, probably either with the belt or with the roller brush assembly on this one. It does appear to be working. We can see whether or not there is suction if we unplug this here and put our hand on it when it's on. Excellent suction, actually, so that's really good. You know, the thing about these two is they will make good shop vacuums. If you're looking for something to have like beside your workbench, like if you're like me, if you got a workbench and it gets dirty a lot, you do electronics, you like to vacuum it off, repurpose one of these. You can actually take the bottom assembly off of these a lot of times, and the motor is actually attached down here. But you know, the power takeoff, where the belt usually attaches, will just kind of spin with nothing attached, and then the central column is really all that you need to work this as like a little bench vacuum or something like that. So you really don't need this lower assembly to work in order to use these. You can even remove the lower assembly, set this whole thing beside your bench, and still use it. So, you know, if you find one beside the road or something, chances are it's got either a roller brush assembly or a bad belt, and you can still use this section as a bench vacuum cleaner. So just a quick tip there. Let's try this other one. All right, so we know that one needs to be investigated further. This one, but it has potential. This one right here. Okay. See what happens when we turn it on. 0. Nothing at all. Okay, so that's actually less common. It's less common to have one do nothing at all. That tells me there's probably either the motor is burned, there's a bad switch. Let me feel this switch. This switch seems to have more resistance behind it than this thing. I don't know, maybe not. No, I can hear it switching. I don't think it's the switch. We either have a bad a fuse that's blown, or we have a bad motor in this one. But since we have everything else intact, it's possible we might be able to borrow parts off of this to make this one whole. So let's investigate further into this one. I want to see how far the power is making it. Yeah, this is another benefit of having 2 of them anyway. Look at the difference in the roller brush assemblies. See how clogged up that one is? And dirty. This one's actually kind of clean. Let's go ahead and, what do we need here? We need a Phillips screwdriver. Let's grab a Phillips and we'll go ahead and take both of those off. All right, so I'm back with these things. It's been several days. I've been doing some other stuff, but just now getting back around to this project with these vacuum cleaners. I do have the screws out of those bottom pieces, so we'll take the roller assembly off in a minute. But look at my tomato plant here. This is an accidental tomato plant, so it's basically grown up from a seed somebody dropped or something maybe last year, or you know, maybe a bird got after it. I think I actually threw some table scraps or something down here last year, hoping that something would come up, and it has. And I've got accidental tomatoes all over it, which is pretty damn cool, right? Pretty awesome. Anyway, so I was cleaning out my garage. I think it would have been last night I was cleaning it out, and ran across a third one of these. Same model. Did not see before. You know, you might be a hoarder when you run across a third Bissell Powerforce Helix vacuum cleaner you didn't even know you had. So ridiculous, I know, sorry. But that's what I'm trying to do. I'm trying to clean up some of this crap. So let's take the bottom bits off of this, and then we'll assess this one. Actually, you know what, we'll go ahead and assess this one first, and then we'll check back with these. I'm really curious to see if this one has any merit at all. What really sucks is I have 3 of these things and not a single attachment with any of them. This third one is missing its little piece right here. There's a plastic piece that for the cord winder, so I'm having to wind around this, which is not a big deal. Let's see what this thing does. See if we can make a fire happen. Oh, I can actually smell the rubber. So there probably is a belt on it, but it's most likely half burned from, you know, being so clogged. I mean, look at this. How does anybody think a roller brush can move when you allow it to become that clogged without ever cleaning it out? You know, do people just have no curiosity about their stuff whatsoever? And I think that's it. There's just zero curiosity, and they're so cheap. It's just like, oh, you know what, the Chinese slaves will just make me another one. You know, that's the mentality. I think it's a dangerous mentality, a very stupid one, and one that I reject. But anyway, let's go ahead and pop the screws out of this one too, and then we'll assess all 3 of them on the roller brushes. Yeah, and you know something else, I'm gonna actually throw on some gloves for this. This is pretty, you know, it's definitely kind of nasty. What's that?
And you carry on hoovering thinking, was that a bit of grit?
So the last thing that they successfully sucked up was a...
Was that a piece of money?
What is this?
Or was that the treasure of the Sierra Madre? Must know, must find out, must know what's in it, what's that? It's a bit of grit.
Let's see, what is this? For essential orange drink.
You know, when I'm done ranting about elite power that rules the planet under a totalitarian government that uses the media in order to keep people stupid, my throat gets parched. That's why I drink orange drink.
Helps immune function. But who just vacuums that up and just, you know, well, hell with it. I'm just going to vacuum it up. They see it on the floor, but it's just like, screw it, you know? Yeah, that surely won't clog my vacuum cleaner. A big piece of plastic. You know, you got all these people who are all for the environment and stuff, and do-gooders who want to, you know, like ban single-use plastics and things like that, which I'm all for reducing the amount of plastics. But the people who are polluting the oceans are the third world, and China and places like that, man. They're dumping the crap in the ocean because they're the ones making all of our crap. They're the ones generating all of the, you know, a lot of the waste. We do throw a lot of things away here, but you know, a lot of the major pollution is coming from overseas. Let's go ahead and unplug that. I was watching this documentary about the trash that Europe and other places, and even the U.S. ships overseas. You know, we ship a lot of our garbage to other places where they will sift through it. The local populations will. They'll sift through this garbage and try to find usable things, which is cool and all. But what sense does it make to put a bunch of our waste on another ship, you know, and burn a bunch of more gasoline or whatever to ship it somewhere else so that they can put it in their ground? You know what I mean? It's just, that's weird to me. And Europe is just as guilty of this crap. So that belt actually looks good. That's surprising. Usually when you have one that stops, you know, as a result of a belt problem, it's completely burned up, or it's on its way to going out. But that looks like a brand new belt to me. Maybe they burned up a belt, and then this one, the bearing seems okay. You got to test the bearing on these, because that's what usually ends up going bad. Is these end bearings, they'll melt and then they'll warp. This one seems straight and true and good. So I'd say that roller brush right there is good. It just obviously needs a clean. You come in here with scissors and cut all this stuff out of here and wash that off, and that'll be fine. That needs obviously a wash. This all needs to be cleaned out. What the hell is that? What is that? God knows. Jesus. Looks like somebody tried to vacuum a wet animal. Gross. You know, that's one thing that gives me consternation about these doing vacuum cleaners is just the sheer amount of just filth. You know, that can be in some of these. It's not worth messing around with half the time. All right, so, yeah, that's not true. It's not half the time, but it is some of the time. They're too dirty to mess with. I'm gonna flip this back on, and we're just want to see if that shaft right there spins. And obviously it is, but as it's spinning, it's also ejecting some air out around it, and I can just, you know, smell the pet dander, pet hair crap coming out of it. So it just needs a it needs a really, really good clean. So this one's going to be a good vacuum cleaner. It just needs a top to bottom clean, and it probably needs maybe a replacement HEPA filter. There should be a filter in here somewhere. I'm not familiar with this model, so this should be a removable filter, you would think. Maybe not. Where does it get its suction from then? So, okay, where's the intake? Okay, the bottom is sealed, so there's nothing. Some of these they have an intake down here, and there's other models of vacuum that will have a HEPA filter down here. This looks like an intake to me, but I don't know. This might be one where they don't even intend you to change the filter, which would be just disgustingly savage on their part. Just making something extremely disposable. If you can't even change the intake filter, there should be an intake filter right here. I'll tell you what, I am going to disassemble one of these because I want to see how they're filtering the intake. Okay, so it appears the intake is here. So it may be that that's the only intake, and then the filter is on the top of this canister. Let's look at that. Yeah, washable filter, there we go. It's okay, so they do have an intake filter. I was about to say, because that was gonna be really stupid. Oh yeah, so this would be why this thing was thrown away. Do you see the disgustingness there? So when one gets this clogged up, this is a washable filter, for God's sake. And look at it. It even says on it, washable filter. But look at this. Holy bejeez. Look at that. Oh my God. I mean, how do you expect any air to get through that? Look. It's got to get through that. That's, I mean, I hope to God somebody was not vacuuming their house with this thing, you know, and running it inside with that. You know, I bet their kids have so many allergies, it's not even funny. That's mad. God. Okay, so this is going to need a thorough wash. Same with all of them. Just out of curiosity, morbid curiosity, I'm going to try these other ones and see how bad their filters are. Okay, not quite as bad, but still pretty bad. And see, oh my God, yeah, see, look how much is even falling down on there. Good Lord. Now the wind shifted, it's blowing back at me. Damn it. Yeah. Not as bad as the first one, but still bad. And I could smell the dog on it. You know, so they had a dog, and they had a dog. I think these guys didn't have a pet. Let's see the difference. No, this might be the worst one. Oh my God. Look at it. Oh my God, look how caked that is. It's caked. It's caked with dirt. Look at it. Oh my goodness. That is appalling. Look, this is the air that goes into the motor too. I bet these motors are gonna need, I'm gonna have to take the motor housings open and thoroughly probably clean all of that too. Blow it out as best I can with some air. Jeez. This one's the worst one. I thought this one was gonna be the best one, but nope. Oh boy. This is a different kind of dirt too. This is like almost mud. Like I said, the wind has shifted on me and I'm not getting that crap all over me, so. Yeah, these people didn't have pets, but they sure had a lot of dirt. Oh my God. There's a cloud. You see it? All right, I'm gonna wash these. I'll wash all three of those filters off and come back to this, and then we'll proceed to washing the bodies of these off too. My damn face. Wow. Okay. So there are those washed. I'm gonna let them stick them in there and let them dry out for they've got to dry out for a while. That's some dense foam. It's probably going to take, you know, 24 hours before they can be put back in the machine. But what I thought was interesting was the fact that the worst clogged one was the one with no activity on the motor. So definitely what had happened is you got all that dirt, mud, whatever past the past that completely clogged filter, and it got into the motor. And you know, the thing was already struggling as it was, but then when you start building a bunch of dust on top of it where it can't cool itself off, of course it's going to burn up. So I'd say that's what happened to that motor, and we can verify that. I'm going to go ahead and tear that one apart. That will be the most interesting one as far as a diagnosis perspective. So let's tear that one apart. We'll keep any usable parts off of it, and we'll look at what's happened to that motor. Got 4 screws here on top. I'm probably gonna have to take those off for sure, but let's go ahead and remove this. I want to see what's under here. This is all looking like. Remarkably, this roller brush is not nearly as bad, despite the filter state. And possibly that build is still good. It does have a spot on it where it has sat, but that doesn't mean that it won't work. So that's possibly a good build. That brush looks good, but does it spin? It does spin, but not quite as freely as the other one. Okay. Is that another filter? That looks like another filter. Okay, so it looks like there's a intake over here. Or maybe that's a fan. I don't know if this is for cooling the motor, like on the side here. I'm gonna try to find a parts breakdown for this particular model, and maybe I'll put it up on the screen, and we'll see what that's supposed to be. We're gonna find out here in a second anyway, but it'd be interesting to see what they call it, and if you can even get them replacements. If you wanted to buy it, I mean, that would be easy to make. Still, if you wanted to buy a replacement filter for that, then it'd be nice to be able to. Okay, so here's where the shaft comes out. There's rust on the shaft. There was straight up rust on that. I stupidly wiped a little bit of it off before you got a chance to see it, but there's rust on that motor shaft. So I don't know. I wonder if they tried to maybe vacuum something that was wet, damp or something, and that's why it got so clogged. You know, if you vacuum something that's kind of damp, like if you wash a carpet or something, you're supposed to wait a little while before you use a vacuum like this on it. But if you go and vacuum it and you're getting all those water droplets up in the thing, it's going up into the filter, and then it's clogging the filter because every bit of dirt, you know, tends to just cake on there and then form like a crust like we saw with the thing. And then it's going to come down into the motor, and there's, like I said, that's some straight up rust on that. Here we are with the outside of the motor casing off, and you can see the motor. Look at this. Look, it's no wonder this motor died. Look, this is all dirt up here. Dirt. Look at this. Look, it's not just a little bit of dirt, that's caked dirt. And look, there are some filters in here. Look, there's 2 filters. There's one there and one over here that obviously need to be cleaned also, that I bet nobody ever cleans. But oh my God, look at the amount of it. Okay, so here's the, oh my geez, look, here's this is the impeller right here. This is where all of your vacuum is created, but look at this. On the impeller of the motor, which should never see any dirt or dust, is caked in it. Look, oh my God, it's completely clogged inside of it. This is one of the worst I've seen. This might be the worst that I've seen. It's completely caked in there. Wow. Yeah, there's no wonder that this motor would be bad. Oh my gosh, even in spite of that though, I think I just found the problem. And it's not the burned motor. Look. There's an outside chance that I just did this, but I don't think so. Look at that. That connection right there is broken on that brush. See that? There's your fail point right there. I do believe. You got a brush here on this side, and there's a brush on the other side. This one's attached. Right there, you can see that lead. That's fine. But this other one is broken. You know what? There's a chance I could solder that back on and fix this thing, but man, look at the amount of dirt that's in it. It's like I said, this is the worst I've seen. How did it even happen? So yes, indeed, there are 2 ports on this. There's one on the side over here. So that's an intake filter right there. And then there's this little cup that's supposed to seal and make sure, you know, that you're only getting air from here or up, you know, up there. And the thing is, on this is probably like a release valve, like a pressure release, so that if the other one gets clogged, that there will still be some kind of access to a little bit of air. And there's probably some kind of little reed or something in here that will move. It will open up only under certain pressure conditions. Like if that other one is closed off, then this will kind of open up a little bit and allow air to come in through this filter. You're not supposed to be relying on this, but sometimes if you get clogged up, you know, it does happen. It will still have some way to get air so you don't burn the motor up. But in this case, I think they were both pretty much, you know, they're both pretty much clogged, and this was completely clogged. So there's your pathology for why that happened. I mean, it's still free. I'll tell you what, I'm exceptionally curious, and I'm going to solder. I'm going to solder that connection and just see if we can get this thing to spin. Okay, before I go through the trouble of soldering anything, I'm just gonna use this alligator clip, and we'll see if we can't get it to spin just out like this. Okay, it's plugged in. I don't know if the switch is on or off. Wasn't that interesting? All the sparks are from that alligator clip. It moved slightly. It kind of went down where the clamp is not really secure on there, so it was bouncing off and on it. So I think that's why it was getting so many sparks, but I don't know. It looks to me like it might be a working machine if I can solder that, clean it up, and all that mess. All right, so I'm gonna take all these plastic pieces off these. That one I've already cleaned. Still gotta clean these other canisters. After seeing what I've seen here with all this dirt inside of this one, there's no way I'm not going to disassemble entirely all of these machines. If they're all like that, then there's got to be some kind of faulty design here going on, or somebody was just so neglectful of that build. Obviously they were neglectful of the filter, but that's just real bad right there. But okay, so this, I'm going to spray this off too. Okay, so there's all the easily detachable parts washed. Now I'm going to break this down as much as I can and wash all those plastic parts too. I think there's a couple screws on that little shroud up there above the motor. There's one here for sure. Yep. There's one there. There's one on top as well. One here. There we go. Yeah, so at least you can take this off and clean it as well, but I mean that takes a lot of getting to, and they probably don't want the average consumer doing that. So that's just, it just makes me wonder why they didn't make this. Why did they put the filter up on top and then have this opening also? There's a trade-off. You know, they need some kind of air coming in, the ability to bring air in if the thing gets clogged. I get that, because they don't want it to overheat. And then on top of that, they probably have a thermal shutoff switch for safety to prevent, you know, something from catching on fire. I get all of that. But the trade-off obviously is you can't easily get inside of here, and no consumer is going to do that. Probably very, very few. I'm an extreme exception who will do something like this. On a vacuum cleaner, that's probably $40 new, $50, whatever. I don't know. This thing might be $60 vacuum cleaner. I don't know. But cheap enough that most people will just replace it, you know. We're gonna wash this and wash as much of this stuff as we can. I'll pull that hose off there and do the same. And this has two little filters in it too that detach. So there's one here. You know what? I'm gonna leave it in for the moment. Yeah, so these two filters right here, they probably would never need to be really replaced, but they do need to be cleaned out periodically. If you have one of these machines, you really need to do exactly what I've done here, probably about once a year, I would say. Take the whole thing apart, clean all the filters, clean all the plastic parts, inspect your motor, you know, make sure those connections are good, just all the stuff like that. Make sure this impeller is not completely clogged, you know, like this one is. That's unbelievable. How is this thing even still working? Yeah, it's unplugged. I mean, it makes no sense how this thing was even still working. Look how much dirt is falling off this just picking it up. Look at that. And that's in there with the motor. That's insane. That's absolutely insane. All right, I'm gonna get these pieces up here apart. How does that happen? Whoops. Is there a screw I'm missing? I must be missing a screw. Where's this extra screw? Or is it this? Okay, that twists off. Oh, there it goes. So you twist that off, and then this should come right apart. Oh, I know. I see what's holding it. It's the cord. The cord's holding it. Okay. That makes sense. So yeah, give the cord some slack, and then that'll come loose. Like this. The switch. Can't lose any of these pieces. All right, I'll deal with that in a bit. This, I'm gonna get enough cord slack where I can just wash this. I may just lift this up and wash this out too and just let it dry thoroughly and it should be fine. You know, I'll let it dry for several days before I come back to it. Okay. All right, I didn't keep the motor completely dry there, but I kept it dry enough, and it is, you know, I didn't get any down in the armature area. You know, you don't want to get any bunch of water like down in there and let it sit, you know, or anything like that. So I was careful not to do that. I'm going to give this a good wipe down and clean out this impeller, because oh my God, you know what I mean? I wonder how easily this impeller will come apart. I think this piece will slip off, but how easily will that come off? That ain't gonna happen, I don't believe. So, I think without completely disassembling this motor, I don't see that happening, and I'm not sure how to do it. I don't know if this, I mean, obviously that's a separate piece, but I just don't know how it's attached. You know, if this one is this bad, it makes me wonder how bad the ones with the pets are. Because this house didn't even have a pet, and it's this bad. I mean, there's gonna be crap. There's gonna be crap all up in here. Really would be nice if this thing just came apart easily, but they don't. It's not like they even have screws here. I don't even see any screws right here. There's gotta be some, but I just don't see them. That might be a rubber insert over the top of the screw. That's probably what it is. And that's what's holding that together. I bet you that's what that is. Yeah, I don't know. Hard to say. What I can say is that is about 110% better than it was. It still doesn't have. I still don't have all the dirt and hair out of it. I mean, I'll get as much out as I possibly can reach, but you know, there's still, at the end of the day, there's always going to be a little bit left, most likely, that I could not get to. See, like a whole bunch just came out right there, but I want to be careful about banging too much on this too, because if I dent it, then these fan blades won't be able to spin. So, let's see there, look at all that. It's just straight up dirt. Okay, I think that's probably gonna work just fine when I get that back together. I gotta solder that motor, and then all these pieces, of course, will make a full vacuum cleaner. So I've got pieces strewn everywhere of this one. But I think that one is pretty much done on the cleaning. And then we'll get to work on these other two, and we'll see. We might end up being 3 for 3 on these. All right, so you remember when I said earlier I thought this was a check valve, and that's exactly what it is. You see this pushes in. See that? This pushes in, letting air past, but only when it needs it. Otherwise, it's going to draw the air from the rest of the machine, through the main filter. But if that gets clogged up, it's going to open this valve and it's going to draw air through here. Yeah, you can see here too. This is all rubber, so there's a seal, airtight seal here that goes on the impeller, and then this is all a seal too, all the way around here. That's an airtight seal to try to maximize the air pressure. Okay, here's what this model looks like, completely disassembled. So we have that solder job to do on the motor, and then we'll get it reassembled. Okay, we're going to try to solder this little disconnection on the motor together. First thing we want to do is scrape this, clean up any varnish or lacquer that's on there, rather. Okay. Now on this side, this is not soldered to this, I don't think. It's just clamped. So I'm going to try to straighten this, because this wire is a bit short and I don't want to go pulling on it necessarily. So I want to see if I can use this piece that's here. Okay. There we go. Okay, that's a solid physical connection. We're going to solder that. Okay, that ought to fix the motor. I'm going to brush it off a little bit, try to get what remains of the dust out, and then we'll reinstall it and reassemble everything. Okay, so that has got pretty much all of the dust that I can hope to get out of it, around the actuator and also back here around the impeller. So yeah, looking pretty good. I think it's time to probably reassemble this. I think I'll give it another day before I try to start it up, because I think I saw a little bit of water coming out of the switch bay right there. So I'll shake it around and see if I get any more droplets out and just give that a minute longer to dry. But other than that, this thing is ready to reassemble. Last screw. All right, that should be it. Let's see how it vacuums. Perfect. Absolutely perfect. No hiccups, no strange smells. The suction is great. So there's one down. Okay, so I'm going to probably do the other two off camera. This video has gone on long enough. I mean, an hour-long video for some vacuum cleaners is a bit probably pushing it. So that'll do it right here. If you guys enjoyed this one, please hit subscribe and share. And for now, we will see y'all later.